let me ask you, have you spoken to Secretary Kennedy about his decision to approve COVID-19 or limit the approval and availability of COVID-19 vaccines?
No, sir.
You have not. Okay. Have you spoken to him about the vaccine injury compensation program?
I do not recall.
You have represented him, correct?
Yeah, I represented him when he was running for president of the United States of America. I've represented him during that period to get him off ballots across the country. I've represented him in some other capacities. I've also co-counseled with him in many cases for almost a decade.
Have you been under consideration to be part of his team at HHS?
I have not put my name in to be part of the government. I respectfully prefer to be outside of government.
Mr. Rogers, I understand your degree is in political economy, correct?
Correct. As I imagine you know, to earn a PhD, one must make an original contribution to knowledge as verified by external peer review. That's the degree that I have. And unfortunately, these days, medical school is just a glorified trade school for people trained to obey the pharmaceutical industry. Now, trade schools can be great, but Western allopathic medicine has completely lost its way. So, but I'm a doctor of philosophy and social sciences.
Okay. I guess we've established your views on the medical profession. You know, I'm curious. I don't know the answer to this question. In some of your Twitter posts, you said, and I'm quoting, "You people are all going to spend eternity in hell. Nuremberg 2 first, then hell." What did you mean by that?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I believe that we are in the midst of one of the greatest crimes in human history. We have a product being injected into children 70+ times over the course of their development that's never been tested against a proper saline placebo. Over that course of that time period, chronic illness in this country has gone from 10% of children having one or more chronic conditions to now more than 50% of children having one or more chronic conditions. Secretary Kennedy, in the hearing that was last week, said that the latest data from the CDC says that 76% of Americans now have one or more chronic conditions. And I believe that lots of these chronic conditions stem from iatrogenic injury. We have 3 million children with autism. Back in 1970, the rate was so low that it was essentially zero. I'm outraged by that, and I think every person in this room should be outraged by that. I don't know how to say it anymore clearly that we need to change course in this country. And I'm terribly disappointed by the medical profession. In the social sciences, there's this term called epistemic capture, which is when the entire knowledge production process becomes captured by one industry. And that's what's happened with science and medicine. And so I think we need to change course. And I think the people who have covered up the autism epidemic and the epidemics of iatrogenic injury should be held to account for their actions.
Are you comparing? I'm holding up a copy of the tweet. I'm sure you recognize it. You people are all going to spend eternity in hell. Nuremberg 2. And in another tweet, you made, I think, fairly clear that you thought Nuremberg 2 referred to executions. And then you said, if we could hit those sorts of numbers, meaning the numbers of executions following the Holocaust, when pharma fails, we would be doing great. I think the inevitable conclusion there is they're calling for the execution of people.
I think that's overstated. I think you're putting words in my mouth, respectfully, Senator.
I'm
if I
asking
may.
the question.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So look, let's put it in the context of COVID. I've already talked about autism. Let's talk about COVID. The state, however you define that, the military, CDC, Tony Fauci, Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina, created a weaponized virus, correct? Gain-of-function research. They contracted it out to China, and it caused a pandemic around the world once it was released. The government created a weaponized virus that then got out and caused a global pandemic. When are we going to have accountability for that? I generally don't understand why government officials are allowed to engage in
Rogers, I'm not putting
research.
words in your mouth. I'm just quoting your words.
I would like to have
And I think
accountability for the COVID era, and I'd like to have accountability for the fact that the CDC has known since 1999 that vaccines cause autism, and they've covered it up for 26 years. How do we begin to have accountability? You want to call it something different? Truth commissions, criminal trials?
So
I would welcome
you're
that.
comparing the COVID-19 vaccine to the Holocaust.
Sir,
Well,
respectfully.
I
No,
will
first-
ask that these posts be entered in the record if there's no objection.